The national debt has soared to a new high of 12.76 trillion pesos as of the end of April. How can the incoming Marcos administration pay this off? Joining us now is Sonny Africa, Executive Director of the Ibon Foundation. Sonny, thank you so much for joining us. How challenging will it be for the new Marcos Jr. economic team to reduce the country's massive debt of around 13 trillion pesos, which translates to every Filipino owning our debtors more than 110,000 pesos each?
It's not going to be easy, but actually we do believe it's a cliche. If they have enough political will, they can do it. We think, for one thing, incoming Secretary Jokno is on the right track when he's saying we should grow ourselves out of debt. Although they're not going to be off to a good start because the budget they announced for 2023 is not even a 5% increase. It's going to be the smallest budget increase in 20 years. So if they're thinking that the budget will help stimulate the economy to spur growth, to make us grow out of debt, they have to sort something out there because it's not going to happen with the 2023 budget. And we keep saying it is not true. There's no money to be had in the Philippines. If we're going to be squeezing poor ordinary Filipinos through VAT, other consumption taxes, there's a limit to what they can get there. If the government was really sincere and wanted a bold move to generate resources, we are pushing for a billionaire tax on just 3,000 richest Filipinos, which can generate nearly 500 billion pesos.
All right.
I think that will be a good start for us.
A billionaire's tax. But let's also listen, Sonny, to Budget Secretary Tina Canda on her suggestions on some cost-cutting measures.
The problems we are facing, mainly of resources for 2023, no? Kasi medyo tight ang resources. So kung tight ang resources, then gagawa ka ng adjustments, no? So ibig sabihin, kung halimbawa dati meron kayong mga polisiya na pwede ka mag-start ng building, ng office building, siguro ngayong taon na to baka pwedeng i-defer yon. Kung meron kang refleeting, siguro pwede i-defer yon. Kung meron kang mga trainings na ipapatupad, maaring i-cut yun. Ano? So yun mga gastusin na ganon, then we can forward that to the administration.
What do you make of these cost-saving initiatives? Will they be enough?
I'm sorry to laugh, but kut-kut na lang talaga yan. Bottom line, at least she's admitting that the next budget is going to be an austerity budget. The big picture is it's the smallest budget increase in 20 years. If they want to stimulate the economy to spur growth, to grow out of debt, they really have to spend more. And the only reason the economic managers think there are no resources is because they are still stuck in thinking that the only people to get resources from are the poor. Of course, they know the poor have a limit to how much they can pay. They should really start considering tapping the 8.1 trillion pesos in wealth that the 3,000 billionaires have.
All right, but the outgoing finance department, Sonny, is also proposing in its fiscal consolidation plan to raise much needed revenues to defer the train personal income tax reduction and the repeal of VAT exemptions, among others. What do you make of this?
There's a problem with the repealing of VAT exemption and adding taxes because the net effect of this, they haven't specified what VAT exemptions will be taken out, but working backwards from what they said, what they're not taking out agriculture, finance, education, and health, in which case they may take out VAT exemptions for senior citizens, PWDs, low-cost housing, rentals below 15,000 pesos, etc., etc. That's not a good place to exempt VAT from because this will increase prices of goods and services. Even worse, again, with a nice logic, we have to tax digital services. Bottom line, they also want to tax Netflix, Shopee, Lazada, plastic bags, increase oil excise taxes, increase alcohol and sweet beverage taxes, cigarette taxes. Our bottom line is these are all consumption taxes. Consumption taxes are always regressive. They hit the poor more than they do the rich. Just because the economic managers don't feel the effect of these consumption tax increases doesn't mean most Filipinos don't feel that. So we do disagree that consumption taxes are the way to go. They're hugely regressive. You're facing the worst unemployment in the region, the second highest inflation in the region. We have the aftershocks of 2 years of lockdowns. Now, if the government wants to tax the poor and ordinary Filipinos more, I think that is a big problem, especially it's so easy for them if they had the political acumen and push to tax 3,000 billionaires who can
So,
well afford
do you think
to
the
pay a bit
political will
more.
is there to tax these 3,000 billionaires? And I mean, from your computations, how much do you think could be raised by taxing these billionaires?
On a 1%, 2%, 3% gradated tax on wealth over 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, at least 470 billion pesos can be raised. Now, if incoming President Bongbong Marcos wants to rule out any thinking that he's going to be as bad as his father or he's going to be the same elitist president that we've had in the past, if he implements this, I think a lot of people, even erstwhile opponents, will give him a clean slate. So I think, it's something that sounds difficult to do because we're not used to it, but I think we have to reset the way we think about taxes. We really won't have enough resources if the only people we want to tax heavily are the poor and ordinary Filipinos.
Who do you think,
I think
has,
that's where
has
reset
the
comes
heart,
from.
Sonny, among the lawmakers to file this billionaire tax bill?
The Makabayan lawmakers filed the wealth tax bill in the last Congress, HB 10235, I think it was. The outgoing secretary had the knee-jerk reaction to say he had a lot of spurious arguments, which we can go into detail if you want, opposing that. So we actually quite welcome incoming Secretary Jokno's statement that he has no opposition to the wealth tax, which we think means he has no opposition in principle. His only concern is that papasa ba sa Kongreso? If that's a practical question, that's something to work with, pag-usapan natin. Everyone wants to be part of nation building. This is a huge contribution to nation building. I think by billionaires who can afford a 1%, 2%, 3% tax, that's nothing for their wealth. I think, it sets a good signal, I think, for more democratic, more responsible, more socially responsible governance for the next administration.
So how much do you think could our national debt be reduced if we tax the billionaires, which is currently close to 13 trillion pesos?
We're going to go a long way towards that. If you, for instance, you get a billionaire tax, and it's easy to compute. I mean, if Forbes can compute the wealth of billionaires, the government has control over the SEC, BAR, all the banking system. I mean, the government can compute much better than Forbes. If they do that, 470 billion pesos for the coming year, spend that on top of that piddling 5.3 trillion pesos now, that will generate more revenues. We can start paying off the debt from increased revenues. And we have to remember, the main reason revenues fell in the last 2 years was because of these endless lockdowns and the biggest collapsing growth in the region. So again, you reverse that, you aim for the biggest stimulus package in the region, a genuine package that spurs growth, you will spur revenues, and you will be able to start paying down the debt much quicker without burdening poor Filipinos. And, if it sounds like it's shooting at the moon, I mean, we have to start somewhere. We just have to stop taxing ordinary Filipinos. That's such a core principle. We have to tax those with the greatest ability to pay. Di ba sabi ka sa community pantry, take from those according to ability to each according to need. That should be actually a principle for the tax system we implement.
Sonny Africa, Executive Director of the Ibon Foundation, thank you so much for your insights.
Thanks, Rico.